What's going on, guys, and welcome back. We're getting really close to that 5,500 subscriber giveaway. We did make the Discord just available to everyone, no more like Patreon type stuff like that. Link is down below if you want to come join in on the community. That's where giveaway winners and stuff, whatnot, will be revealed, as well as like our whatnot streams, all that other good stuff. But today we're here for the channel, we're here for YouTube, all this good stuff. So without further ado, I got a few deck lists that just keep winning. These three decks have been seeing quite a bit of success as of lately, and little iterations, variances here and there, card choices, text, things like that. But overall, obviously, one of them is going to be a Popsicle deck, which is by far the best deck of the format right now. Format's kind of coming to a close. We're going to start ramping you guys up, pun intended, with new format content, with updated deck ideas, theories, updated cards, which cards are expected to actually be meta relevant in the new set. 'Cause there's a lot of really crazy things that I think are going to be possible next set, and I'm curious to see how the format goes. But we're going to start dropping some deck lists for you guys moving into the next set. Hopefully all the reveals here start kind of finish trickling in, and we can start to really theorize what the format's going to be like. But without further ado, we got a blue steel aggro deck. Harlan is the one who put this style of deck back on the map, and a lot of people have been running with it lately and doing really well with it, and it's really not a huge surprise. In your one drop spot, you got Robin Hood, usually mandatory. In the other spot, we see Mickey Mouse, we've seen Captain Hook, we've seen a little bit of play from time to time as to what the other one drop character is. Obviously your Hook is going to help with your Smee. Your Mickey Mouse has the resist one, just meaning it's going to stick around that little bit of extra time a lot of the time, which can be really nice as well. Utility in the two drop spot, you got Calhoun, which also helps you going on the play, or on the draw, sorry. So if you're on the draw, obviously you get like your Hood, your Calhoun, stuff like that to challenge into your opponents. You got Doc for that late game card draw. You got Smee for that early game questing, especially on the play. Coming down with Alice, it's a card that everyone should be able to read at this point. If you don't know what Alice does, read her. She's a very good card. Simply reading your opponent's cards can save you a lot. I've seen so many people where they just ignore stuff like that, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, quest Alice, and you start saying what you're doing, and then you're like, oh, and I win, and you're like, wait, how did you win? And she's like, well, this gives this the lore, this, and it's like, all you gotta do is read your cards, and you can get around a lot of that. But Alice is a sneaky good card. Maybe not so sneaky anymore, like I said. John Silver, he's in there to prevent your opponent from challenging you. There's not much more to say about that. You're being aggressive. You want to control the pace of the match, how it's going, the flow of it. Just a really good card for that. He's a 3/3 body as well, so you can start trading into your opponent's stuff and protecting your other characters even further that way. Pete, just to stop actions, makes sense. Coming down with that Pluto after Alice is obviously going to be really strong. Protect Alice at all costs. If you can protect her, if you hit like Mickey or Robin Hood 1, Smee 2, Alice 3, Pluto 4, Shift Hood 5, like, you're in a really good spot that game. You also have Scrooge McDuck, just a 5/5/2 quester. He is uninkable. They had to do something to tone him down a little bit, but a 5/5 body that quests for 2 in that 4-drop spot is no joke. Baymax, being able to heal your characters and just boom, 2 lore, I win. Or quest, get 2 lore, heal 2 damage, get 2 more lore, boom, 4 damage, I win. Baymax is an underrated card. I've seen some lists starting to play 3 and 4 of him, and I think 3 is probably going to be the sweet spot that I would go towards. Cogsworth, obviously you're trying to just survive, so that resist is insane. Also helps with your Smee, so he doesn't take that damage any longer. Gantu, such a great closer. Love seeing this card in here at 4. Absolutely love seeing Gantu at 4. The Hood shift line, just finishing that out. And then Baboom and Strength of the Raging Fire as options to deal with your opponent's boards, because they're both inkable. Not only do you go quick, have things like Pluto, John Silver, Baymax to heal, Cogsworth for resist. You also have Baboom and Strength of the Raging Fire, which puts in a lot of work with how fast you go wide with this deck. And then, as if all that's not enough, you slap down a mana or 2 while you're going wide, and you're probably winning those games. Another deck we got to talk about here. Like I said, obviously this video would be completely clickbait if Popsicle wasn't on here, because we can't say these decks keep on winning without the deck that is winning the most. And we have Dean King Fams most recent win, he took down that event over in Germany with 222 players. He went 12-0. List is, I'd have to pull it up side by side. If it's not identical to the Melbourne list, it is very, very close to that Melbourne list. So if you're looking to play Popsicles, guys, I'm not saying you're going to be able to just do what he does, because he's a fantastic player, and that's coming from the Yu-Gi-Oh community. He was like known as the Sprite God. He was just great with that deck, just so innovative with it. So part of that is he's a great player. But if you take the time to learn the deck, learn the interactions, learn your opponent's decks, and learn where to interact and when to play your cards, this deck is absolutely insane. In your 2-drop spots, because we're just going to start with the characters, you got 4 Typos, then you got your 4 Azurite, Sail the Azurite Seas, 4 Visions, just lots of consistency and ramp in the early going of the game. Like turn 1, you got your Develop and your Popsicle, so put an item down, look at cards. It's consistency, consistency, consistency. That's what this deck wants to do. It wants to ramp and be consistent, so that way once you hit like turn 5, 6, 7, everything onward, everything you do is such a big blowout play, and your opponent just can't keep up. You have your big Maui Half Sharks that are not only going to get you lore when you're playing all your actions, you also have like your Rush Mauis. I think that card is absolutely crazy right now. Less focused on Hiram, obviously only 4 items, so cutting Hiram down to 3. He's an inkable 6 defense body that can potentially draw you a couple cards. That's what he's in there for, just a little bit of utility. Not only that, a lot of people, they see Hiram, they're going to brawl it. They're going to get rid of it, because that's usually the correct play, especially if you look at the rest of the deck. What else are you going to brawl? Goofy's a great target. Tipo? I don't know. Like, it's still hard not to brawl that Hiram. Super Goof also, as we mentioned, like Pirate's Life. They're both just ways to gain that lore, win the game, done. Anything you can do where your opponent doesn't get a turn, doesn't get a chance to respond to it, just that instantaneous lore is always going to be very, very strong in this game. Obviously taking advantage of some of the best songs in the game and How Far I'll Go and Be Prepared. Just when you look over the deck, like what do we see? We see ramp, rush, consistency, consistency, rush, power card. Consistency, ramp and consistency. Consistency, removal. Consistency and ramp, removal. Tech, I don't really know what to call it. It's an amazing tech card. It does its job. It helps slow down those aggressive decks. It helps keep you in them games. You're down 16-0 and you get to Pirate's Life. Now it's 14-2 and you're dropping B preps and stuff. GG, you're in a great spot. Don't sweat it. Removal, consistency, and another just big blowout card. So your Half Sharks and your Manners are the biggest ways that you're going to be closing out and winning games. Then probably Super Goof. But you just have so much consistency with the deck. It is absolutely insane. And it's crazy just the direction he went with this deck. And it's such a strong deck. And it's very difficult to pilot to the efficiency that he does. But if you put the time in, guys, you can see so much success with this deck. Because he's not the only one winning with it. He's not the only one doing well with the deck. He's just probably at the top of that pinnacle right now in Disney Lorcana. One more deck we're going to talk about. This one's a deck that I actually play pretty frequently. It's been a little bit, but we do play it pretty frequently, and that is Amethyst Emerald. So in the 1-drops, opting to go for Diablo and Chernobog as your draw cards. No brooms because, well, we're going to go with our merfolk. We want to be a little aggressive. I agree with that completely. Like where the format is at, I think that if you're playing this deck, you really want those merfolks in there. At least minimum 3 merfolk, 3 or 4 merfolks. You want to be able to be aggressive versus those Popsicles and RA style decks. Force their hand. Worry about consistency into that mid game once you start to go that route, but definitely be aggressive off the push. I like Diablo a lot. Like your Steel Song matchup is usually one of your lesser ones, but it's actually getting better, and part of that is because of cards like Diablo, where you're not just going to get stormed or strength and you just lose the advantage. Diablo allows you to at least get a card to replace it, so it's really the only safe 1-drop into that Steel Song matchup, so I do really like that. And then Chernobog is better than Broom overall. In your 2-drops, you got Ursula, which again, that's going to help rip apart those Steel Song decks. It helps so much as well into the newer version of Popsicles, like those Pirates' Lives, the How Far All Goes. Honestly, as good as Be Prepared is, you almost just play around that and build up your hand size, and you hit the consistency of How Far I'll Go. You hit the utility and closeout ability of the Pirate's Life. I would almost argue if you saw all 3 of those songs in the hand, B Prep instantly stays in their hand. Unless you're already in a committed board state where B Prep is just going to end the game. Most of the time, I think those other 2 cards are actually better rips than the Be Prepared would be. But guess what? You still have snakes and foxes to bounce your Ursula so you can replay her. Go Tamago, 3 of. Yep, I completely agree there. I like seeing it in that like turn 5, 6, 7 range when trying to close out games. Instantaneous lore, guys. Goat falls in that category too. That's something this deck is great at. It also has White Rose. Something to really, really not sleep on is when your opponent cannot respond to you. Kit Cloud Kicker, just helping slow down those aggressive decks, disrupting other styles of decks as well. I like him a lot right now. You don't have a ton of removal, so 4 crabs makes perfect sense. It's something you got to do. You got to compensate. We don't have like the B Preps. You don't have the Let It Goes. You don't have the Hades. You don't have stuff like that. You have Under the Sea if you want to run an 8 cost uninkable card, but for the most part, you don't have the removal cards that you do in other colors. You don't have the Steel Songs, things like that. So Crab just being able to boost your characters, obviously. Another spicy card that I don't mind seeing in there is like Cricky at 1 or 2. Just giving +3 to everything is actually kind of a fun play. Maybe we'll revisit our Fairy Godmother Cricky deck that we worked on the one time. It was actually pretty nice, pretty nutty. Peter Pan Shadow Finder. He's Rush. He deals with Diablo just like that. Makes sense. Can help pair up, get rid of your opponent's genies with a crab. Or just Genie plus Pan because they'd both survive it. Having 3 willpower. Lots of utility there. You also have your Rose. And is he the one where he gives Rush to evasives or evasive to the Rush characters? Forget which one offhand is Pan Shadowfinder. I think he's the one who gives the evasive characters Rush, is he not? So then like your Genie comes down, has Rush right away. Your Elsa obviously already had Rush, so that don't matter. But your Go Tamago would also have Rush as soon as he comes into play if your Peter Pan is on board. 4/4 Genie Goats. I've actually been going back towards 4 rabbits. As good as Genie is, it feels like people are too ready for it, but I wonder if the format's starting to go away from that a little bit again to where Genie's getting better. You got to kind of ride the waves of the format. But for a little bit there, Rabbit definitely felt like the better play once again. 2 Belle, 4 Elsa. Absolutely love seeing both of those. 3 Ursulas. So it's called Ursula's Army, so it makes sense to focus around Ursula a little bit more. Would I play 3? I think 1 to 2 is probably a more consistent, safer ratio. But if you're really focused on her, absolutely, you could play more, that's for sure. This player did really well with it. And again, I think I'd stop at 2 Ursulas on the high end. And then we close out with the 4 libraries, which I've been so vocal on the channel about that I think library is one of the most overrated cards in the game personally. You want to play it. It's great utility. It does what it does, and it's there for what you need it for. I don't think you win many games because of library. Usually the games where it's like, oh, that really helped me, and it's like I feel like you're probably winning with or without it. That's just my hot take on the library. But overall, these are, again, 3 decks that have been seeing pretty good success as of late, closing out the format. We're going to get all kinds of new format stuff. Green Steel Pirates, it's a deck that I talked about heavy in the beginning of this set. It's getting better, guys. It's going to be like mid-tier 2 to high-tier 2 next set. We got Ruby Steel. That's another deck that I've been working on and telling you guys, this deck is really good. It's getting better. Like, I am so excited. Puppies might actually be a deck that you can go get your set championship promo with. Like, at first I'm like, oh, that's cool. They're making it like a gimmicky bad rogue deck. It might actually be a decent rogue deck reading all the new cards. Like, Puppies is going to be a thing. I don't think Madrigals is going to have it yet still, but Puppies is actually one that I think could see some success. Thank you guys for watching. As always, like, share, subscribe, comment down below. 5,500 subscriber, once again, giveaway is active. So thank you guys for watching. Like, share, subscribe. I just said that. I'm going to say it one more time. Like, share, subscribe. 3rd time's the charm. Thank you guys for watching, and take care.